Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I am Ebony Wallace, the author of Even Birds Get Tired of Flying. We thank you for joining us here on our day 5. It's day 5, guys, and we thank you for joining us here on the Festival of Storytellers. We're going to get right into it. And our today's topic is reset, realign, and start. How do you prepare to reset? Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some time to come on into this author booth to join me. All my friends out there, I know that we're at a little bit of a different time today, but that's all good. Go ahead and join me in this author booth because our topic is a hot topic, and it is reset, realign, and restart. How do you prepare to reset? And again, I'm going to be your facilitator, Ebony Wallace. Let's talk about this thing in the book, all right? How do we prepare to reset? To shift from walking to flying, you must upgrade your operating system. By rebooting your operating system, you can ensure that you are not operating from an outdated version. Outdated versions can cause your system to overload. When your system becomes overloaded, you must reset by force quitting to regain optimal function. So any of you that have had a PC, you know exactly what I'm saying. You have to Control, Alt, and Delete to reset. Hey, we got our first chime in. Hey, Cassandra, nice hearing from you again. I'm so happy you were able to join in with us at the top of the session. So today we're talking about how do we prepare to reset? Reset, realign, and restart. So I'm giving you the analogy of a computer, right? I love to storytell and give examples. And when your PC or your personal computer begins to act wonky, you have to do an override. And when you override, you press Control, Alt, and Delete at the same time, and it allows you to reset. Right? And so we understand that this rebooting of the system makes sure that, we can get to the optimal function and it resets whatever the bugs were. And what I am submitting is that as human beings, there's some times where we have to do a hard reset, or we have to restart our systems because we may be running on an outdated version, and these can cause us to overload. So there's something in computer world called force quitting. And when I force quit, I press 3 buttons at the same time. Those 3 buttons are Control, Alt, and Delete. So what I submit to you, if you want to prepare to reset, you can also do these things in your life, just like we see for our computer. What do I mean by that? Number one, you can control your situation through focus and intentionality. You guys know I wouldn't be a great teacher if I didn't pull in that prior knowledge from yesterday. What did we talk about? Focus and intentionality. So if you want to control your situation, use focus and intentionality. That's the first step. The second step to reboot, restart, and realign is to alternate your environment through exposure and setting boundaries. Alternate your environment through exposure and setting boundaries. We talked about this 3 days ago. How do we get unstuck? We flip the coin through exposure. So now we want to restart and reboot our systems to make sure that we're running optimally. How do we do that? We control our situation through focus and intentionality, and we alternate our environment through exposure and set boundaries. Yes, control, alt, delete. Thank you, Cassandra. I like that you like this analogy. It's totally in the book. The third thing we want to press is the delete option. Honey, this is the one we really need to learn how to do. Delete some of those who cannot go with you to destiny. Delete some of those who cannot go with you to destiny. And think about it. With your computer, you're not always force quitting. You don't always have to control alt delete. It's when everything is jammed up. It's when the screen goes back. It's when you're pressing all the buttons and nothing is happening. You have to force quit. And that's when control alt delete comes in. So what are our 3 things? We control our situation through focus and intentionality. 2, we alternate our environment through exposure and setting boundaries. And 3, we delete some of those who can't go with us to destiny. This is how we can get to a place of a hard delete, a force quit, a restart, a realign, and a reset. How do I make an environment for reset? Wow, this book is amazing. Thank you, Leah May. Can't wait to know more about it. What's your favorite part? Okay, we'll let people chime in because some people have already gotten the book off Amazon and they can respond to you. My favorite part of this book is just the ability to be able to share these walk-in lessons with you and the fact that it's reflective. And I didn't write this book for me, guys. I really wrote it for you, especially coming from this standpoint of an educator. If you go through it, it's like having a conversation with me. And it gives you the opportunity to think, ponder, and ask you these probing questions that get towards deeper issues. So really, this book is really meant to help people who are in a transition or people who want to know, have more identity around what they're going through when they find themselves in seasons that are different. Okay. So how do we create an environment to reset? How do we do that? The fast-paced, nonstop lives of everyone living in the first century makes it feel very easy to get fatigued and burned out. I mean, how many of you can really be honest and be like, yes, I have been burned out. We came off a pandemic. Before that, everybody was running. People are working 2 and 3 jobs. People have families. People have responsibilities. Some people have sickness in their bodies. We have demanding schedules at work. We have all of these things that are pulling on us. So it's easy in this fast-paced world where we don't even have time to almost sit down for dinners anymore to get fatigued and burned out because every part of our day is planned out from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. when we lay down. And so it's amazing that we're even able to function because of the constant stress to produce, to have this sensory overload. We're really in a state of sensory overload. We have our cell phones that are pumping out information every 2.5 seconds. I mean, it's rewiring our brain. Research has shown that this modern brain has been rewired because of the constant sensory overload. We have repetitive work we do. We have a barrage of images that we receive. We have apps, we have TV, we have billboards. Everything is competing for our attention. How do we create an environment to reset? We have to first understand that there's a need to reset. There is a need for us to slow down. Resetting gets you back to your original state, just like it's like your laptop. It gets you back to your original state. It allows you to let down your nets again. It allows you to go what we talked about on day 3. Thank you. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for the comment. I appreciate that. It allows you to go back to your original state It allows you to believe again. 3 days ago, we talked about having the importance of imagination and hope. Okay, having a belief that it can happen, having the vehicle to get you there. All right. And it also lets you release your faith again. It also lets you know that it's not too late, that, I can believe again, I can launch out again, I can apply for that job again, I can run the marathon again, I can live again. This time, the miracle is for you and everyone attached to you. After you reset, you begin to see things more clearly. After you begin to look at things through a space of focus and intentionality, of exposure and setting new boundaries, and of deleting some things that are really not serving you, it gives you a very different outlook. Okay? A very different outlook. One of the things I want us to think about is a way that I can reset is to take the focus off of myself. Now, I know that's something that's hard for us to believe in or to think about in the 21st century, because we have become a very self-driven society. Everything is about me. Everything is about self. Everything is about, really losing our thoughts around community and village building. Okay, we're really moving it. And so what's happening is, because of that, guys, we're coming into these silos and we're coming into these spaces where the community has a lot of individuals, but no one really working together. So if you really reset, there is nothing more fulfilling than seeing yourself help someone else. Leah May just quoted, "I like how you created the book, not just sharing a story and experience, but being an advocate for a cause and agenda to help others." Yes, that was definitely why I wanted to sit down, because I really don't like writing, y'all, but I like that. But I really wanted to find a vehicle to duplicate myself, because I speak all the time, but the book really does allow me to talk to people that are in other countries. It allows me to talk and have a conversation with people who may not be in front of me, because I'm a firm believer, and you guys like to take the nuggets that I say, that every time you pick up a new book, it's a conversation with the author. So I don't read books of people that I don't want to have a conversation with. I usually try to choose books of people that may be from a different place, a different vein, a different walk of life, because that book is going to give me a piece of them, and it's going to be like me having a conversation with them. That's what makes books so magical. That's what makes books so transformative and transportive, because by me reading this book, I can be transplaced to another time. I can be transplaced to another region, another country. I can be a part of another community. I can look through the lens of the author and have this conversation that would probably cost me millions of dollars. But by grabbing their book, I'm able to be present in that moment. And that is the power of books. That's the power of story. It gives us a great lens. Eloise just commented, "Unfortunately, deleting some things in life can be challenging." Yes, when we're going through the phase of controlling, alting, and deleting some things, it's very challenging. But there was something that I posted on my social media earlier, was for us to know that to not shrink back in difficulty. Okay, so that's another sound bite for you. Don't shrink back in difficulty, because in the place of difficulty, that is where you're going to find your genius. That is where you're going to find power, because in those spaces, there's another level. The next level you gets activated when there's trouble. The next level you gets activated in difficulty. So you guys know my background as an educator, and something that I would always do with the kids, I never left them at computational problems like multiplication and division that they could do rotely or remotely. It always took it up to a higher order thinking question, where it was placed in the real world, and the students had to go in and place themselves in this situation and apply the knowledge, not just have the knowledge to tell me 6 times 6 is 36, but now I'm placing them in a situation that's more difficult, more cognitively challenging. And guess what? They stepped up to the plate every time. So don't shrink back from difficulty, because your genius is found there. Okay? Because what happens is, when things are more difficult, you start to create new pathways. Okay. You create new pathways that allow you to bypass and get to another solution. And then when you come together to solve a difficult problem, now you have different lenses and views. George Carpenter just wrote, books influence our lives a lot, so we must choose what we consume properly. Yes, sir. But it's not just books. It's what you listen to, it's what you watch. All of those things, you want to make sure that you're choosing properly what you're taking into your eyes, what you're taking into your ears, and what you're speaking out of your mouth, because it does impact your life. Okay. Because whatever you hear the most, you start to speak out. So the good word, the Bible says faith comes by hearing. So whatever you begin to hear, you start to put faith in. That's why when people preach doom and gloom all the time, those people become anxious and paranoid, because that's all they're hearing. And then it becomes their reality. But if you change what you're hearing, if you change what you're reading, if you change what you're seeing, you begin to take on a different perspective, which causes you to launch into imagination, tying this right back into our earlier chapters, which gives you a new hope that you can be somewhere differently. Stephanie just says, it's vicariously living another's life, learning how they think and the perspectives they have. Absolutely. 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 This is why social media is so big, right? People can go on Instagram. They may never take a trip to Bali, but I can see your pictures on what you did on your trip to Bali. I'm transported there. I get to vicariously live through the experiences. Okay. I believe it was author James Baldwin. And he said, what makes books and, writing and literature so amazing is the fact that we can connect with people through different time and space and realize that we're not so disconnected and we're not so alone. So books also let you know that you're not alone, because you can read another person's experience and gain strength from that, right? So now that I'm thinking that I'm alone, I'm like, oh my gosh, this has never happened. Woe is me. Like, how am I able to juggle this? And then juggle all these things. And then you read someone else's account and you find the strength because you saw how they overcome. Rebecca Hendricks just quoted, you are so right. Amen. What we listen to does make a difference. Absolutely. Absolutely. Most times when you get down, there's a frequency of going down, and you have to monitor that, put some parameters in place, alternate your environment. That's the alternate, right? Alternate your environment and what you're exposing yourself to, so that you can set proper boundaries. Okay. And you're like, you know what? I'm feeling myself maybe not at 100%, maybe at 25. I can't afford to go any lower. So maybe I won't listen to this. Maybe I'll put on some house music, or maybe I'll take myself out for a nice walk along the beach, or maybe I will change my clothes or change my hair or do something that's going to lift me up, rather than to allow me to go from 25% to 0%. Okay. So some of these things are kind of like, I like to give examples, like the battery on your phone. One thing you try not to do with the battery on your phone is let it all the way die out, because it takes so long to charge. So you start to notice, and your phone even gives you an indicator. It's like green, then it turns yellow, then it turns red. And the key is to not really to let it get red, right? We don't really want it to fully die out, because then we won't be able to be connected. We won't be able to get our calls. And we should really operate our lives in such a manner. We should not allow our lives get to a place where we are so low we have to shut down everything and be plugged into the walls. We have to kind of put a monitor on ourselves. Okay, I'm green, I'm great, everything's amazing. But you also need to monitor when you're moving into yellow land, right? When you're moving into, okay, I'm taking on a lot, I'm still able to navigate, but not at 100%. And you definitely need to take when you're at about 25%, so you don't allow yourself to go to zero. All right, we have a new comment. Sean Gibson just said, we become what we read. Regardless of how passive we can be after reading books, we actually subconsciously adapt some behaviors of the characters. Absolutely. You don't think that Disney books and movies have shaped the generation of young ladies. Like, you don't think that the things that we read and that come before us, that's why in education it's so important about even our literary selection, our texts, our group texts. What are we putting in front of our students? Because we're shaping behaviors. They're reading these characters. They're seeing the hero story and the villain story. We're looking at plot. We're looking at climax. We're looking at how it was resolved. And, one of those things is, when we're pulling from both, and then there are some of those really complex stories where we find that, you can find yourself cheering for the villain because you actually understand where they came from. And so all of these things shape us, right? All of these things shape us. And that's why books and reading are so powerful. They are so incredibly powerful. So our topic today is reset, realign, and restart. How can we start to prepare to reset? One of the things I think that we can do that's controllable and practical, because sometimes people give us lofty things that really don't mean nothing, is not a real takeaway. But something that we could really take away from this section with this is I want you to stop looking at the next big thing or even trying to master everything and start with the one thing you can do. Let me say that again. Stop looking for the next big thing. All right. We're always looking for the next big thing. What's the next big thing? What's the next big thing? I wrote a book. What's the next book? I got a degree. What's the next degree? All right. I got a house. What's the next house? All right. Like, what's the next big thing? So a practical way to approach a nice restart would be to not look at the next big thing or trying to master everything on our plate. But what is the one thing that I can do today? So yesterday we got a question about how can we be more focused and intentional? What is the one thing you can complete today? Some people write a lot of to-do lists and still get nothing done. What is the one thing that you can do today? And then from that vantage point, what is the one thing that I can do in the AM? What is the one thing I can do in the PM? And then as you begin to work like that, you begin to say, what is the thing that I can do in hour number one? What can I complete this hour? Yeah, I know I went and got coffee. That's cute, right? I put my makeup on. I got myself together. All right. What is on my task list that I can complete? And what will happen is you may want to start off with the heaviest thing, or you may want to start off with an easy win. Either way. Thank you, Rebecca, for your comment. Thank you for all of you who have, it's really overwhelming that you guys are actually going in and finding this useful. Margaret just stated that even in children's books, this is why I always consciously and meticulously choose what my children read. Yes. Some of these children books are absolutely inappropriate. So I would, if I was, my children are now teenagers, but when they were very, very young, I was very careful about what I placed in front of them because I know that they were shaping their world. Even what we did as bedtime stories, I was very careful about what I placed in front of them because I wanted to make sure that I was raising citizens that would be able to contribute to our society, that would be loving, that would be caring, that would be kind, that would be strong, that would have moral and integral values. So I was making sure that I was reading, because you can't even go by some of the covers. I've seen books that the covers look like this and you open them up and it's like, ooh, the messaging here is a little bit off. So definitely, if you have minors, please pre-read before you give it to the babies, okay? And that's coming from a 20-year educator. Very careful then. I want you to understand that when you begin to reset and start with the one thing that you can do, how do I say this? Your inadequacy will be complimented, okay? So sometimes we don't want to reset because of our inadequacy, right? As you begin to step out, that inadequacy will be complimented, and you'll actually find people that the things that you're inadequate in, that they'll be full of, and they'll be glad to come and, rally alongside you. Hey there, Rebecca. Rebecca, you my star student today. I love you. You get 2 snaps up. She keeps chiming in. We're focused on the next big thing. We forget to recognize what's going on right. Come on, honey. If I'm so focused on tomorrow and can't get through today, that's a problem. If I'm so focused on, well, 10 years from now, I'll be happy when this happens. Well, 5 years from now, I'll be happy when that happens. Well, when this finally gets out of my life, I'll finally be happy. No, let's start with trying to like work on that today. Because if I'm working on the next big thing, I'm losing sight of what I have in my hand right now. You may be in a walking season that doesn't look like a flying season. And what's in your hand right now may be for you to shift into something that will be equally not only beneficial, but allow you to grow in a place that you're not comfortable in, which is a good thing. Because remember, difficulty unlocks courage, it unlocks genius. There was a quote that I read and it was so powerful. And, it said that if you want to get something done really quickly, give it to the laziest person on your team. And it said, because one thing about people who are really lazy when it comes to tasks, they find ways to bypass to get it done faster, quicker, and more efficiently. So sometimes we run away from difficulty, but I'm telling you, when you lean into it, solutions happen, because solutions happen when we make mistakes. When Thomas Edison was building a light, they asked him a question, right? They asked him this question. They're like, so like, how did you build this light bulb? Did you have a stroke of genius? And, how'd you come up with this, the filament, and how'd you get it burned? And basically he's like, what I did was come up with 1,000 ways not to build a light bulb. You're like, you guys are standing here enjoying this light bulb and this filament. But back in my workshop area, listen, I got some prototypes that all of those prototypes led me to building this. I failed 1,000 times, right? Like I came up with some other things along the way, right? This may make a great lantern, or this may be useful with this, but this that you're enjoying, it just didn't come out of the sky. It didn't come out of the sky. I worked at it. So I don't ever want us to get so far in imagination and in faith and in all these spaces that we don't realize that we have to put the work behind it. Okay, so yes, we understand that, and we put things into practice, because knowledge is great, but applied knowledge is where the power comes in. A lot of people know a lot of stuff. That don't mean they do it. Yes, Bob Montgomery, you got to take the dive. Bob, if you don't take the dive, who else is going to do it for you? You got to take the dive. You got to take the dive. If you want to reset, take the dive. Listen, if you want to learn another language, what's stopping you? They got apps and programs. They have things at the community center, things at the library. Take a course. Learn that other language. Yes, are you going to come out fluent on your first day? No. But as you do it, just like Thomas Edison with that light bulb, as you continue to try it out, eventually you'll get to a prototype that's workable for you and that's usable for others. Joyce Kelly just commented, how do you handle self-doubt? I think that's a primary reason why we avoid difficulties. We assume we can't handle things. Okay, so how do I handle self-doubt? So self-doubt is that, that's that enemy in our head. The way that we handle that is I'm doubting myself because I'm not really giving myself enough credit for how much I've overcome. That's number one, because when you see that you've overcome small things, it preps you to overcome large things. Number two, another reason why, we don't launch out is because we're scared of the loss. Like, what am I losing? But if we can mitigate our loss and understand, okay, well, this might happen, I may, get a little anxious, or I may be a little bit embarrassed, but I'm willing to eat the embarrassment to get to the other side. So I have to know that anytime I start something new, that there's going to be a level of loss with me starting something new, even if it's just my comfort. If I say that I want to start going to the gym, but the only time I can go is at 6 a.m., guess what? There's loss with that new thing, because now I don't get to sleep in. Now at 6 a.m., I got to be up and get on the treadmill. However, at the end of 3 months, what I gain is going to be far greater than those mornings that I lost. So we can't look at, okay, losing something, but what am I gaining? That's going to help you, because you're going to say, yeah, I'm kind of having a little bit of doubts. I'm kind of feeling like this may not work. But when I look at the end, I balance that out with the loss that I'm going to get. All right. So, I want to ask my boss for a promotion. but I'm doubting myself. Am I really good enough? I know I've been on time. I know I've been working in excellence, all of these different things. But then when you understand, but I need this raise will help me with my children. This raise will help me with my personal things. And so what it'll do, it'll help you overcome those self-doubting narratives and those self-limiting and defeating thoughts. You'll stop them and you'll be like, but I need to do this for myself because this is good for myself. Well, guys, we are at that time. I love you all, and I want to see you back here next time. We're winding down. I thank you for joining me in my author booth at the Festival of Storytellers. My name is Ebony Wallace, author of Even Birds Get Tired of Flying. I want you to meet me back here next time, and if you want to order anything, look below in the author booth, and I'll see you guys on Monday at our assigned time. Blessings and love. Good day, guys.